race. He has always got his foot into it, never a question.
This car is a brand new automobile. The car that he ran last year was 49 races old. Hardly the best car that one could ever imagine. Brightbill put this car together himself. The majority of cars in this race are factory cars built by Olson or Troyer or one of the major manufacturers. Not so with Brightbill. He said, I want to do this on my own, and he sure did, and it is working to perfection this afternoon.
Jimmy Horton, meanwhile, the defending champion, has picked up a couple of spots, has moved ahead of the active one of Ray Bateman, right behind Billy Pauch right now. Here come your leaders down the front straight. It's Kenny Brightbill out in front, Brett Hearn running in second. Eddie Marshall is third. In fourth, Danny Johnson, Frank Cozy fifth. Then Fritz Eppright, look at Billy Pauch in the corner, throw it in sideways.
Yeah, he's trying to make up some ground, and he is looking to get back with the leaders. Remember, Pauch has already made a pit stop. It was a lengthy one, but he is making up time on the racetrack, trying to overcome what happened to him in the pits. He's on the right of your screen now.
Your leaders down the front straight. Kenny Tremont back out of the pits, by the way, many laps down. Here's the 30. Kenny Brightbill, the 20 of Brett Hearn. And a bit of ground. Jeff Hetzler back on the track after that overheating problem. See if they got it solved, but he is laps down. Look at that battle right there. That's going on. C.D. Colville, who is the lap car, remember, running just ahead of Danny Johnson, Frank Colville, and Billy Pauch, but they cannot get by C.D.
Colville takes up an awful lot of racetrack. He is a fun racer to watch. The guy, no matter whether you like him or whether you dislike him, Colville is always on the gas and running hard. Here he is, a lapped car, and theoretically was a lapped car. He's not running as fast as everybody else, but you couldn't tell that to Danny Johnson that's behind him trying to pass.
Well, as a matter of fact, because of C.D. Colville, the first three cars are able to build up a tremendous advantage right now. There is Super C.D. in the 61. Look at Danny Johnson. Frank Cozy is elected to go to the outside. Billy Pauch throws it in underneath. Look at that battle for that spot right there. They are battling for fourth. Cozy has the spot. Right now, Cozy, the yellow car, the number 44, is in fourth. Billy Pauch right behind him. They're behind C.D. Here's your leader, Kenny Brightbill, on the front straight. They come through the hole over in turn number 3. You can still, that remains a problem over there. Kenny Brightbill, the leader, Brett Hearn right behind him second. They've gotten away from third running Eddie Marshall. And then you got C.D. Colville, Danny Johnson running fourth, Frank Cozy fifth, Billy Pauch sixth. That is the fight right there, Dick, and it is a great one. Fritz Eppright with him also. He is in seventh.
Yeah, it really is a great fight. I just wish Colville were on the lead lap, but unfortunately he's not. Nonetheless, this sure is fun to watch. Remember, no rear view mirrors in these cars. They don't know exactly where the cars are that are behind them. Many of the cars do have radios, but the radios are not in such a position that they know all the time where everybody is. It's a very big guessing game as to where each other is on the racetrack.
The cars running right behind CD are running 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and now 11th as Alan Johnson gets in through there.
And Pauch just made a brilliant move coming off the 4th corner. He went underneath the 44 of Cozy to take a position away from him.
Now let's see if Pauch can work on the car ahead of him. That is Danny Johnson. Tom Mayberry in trouble on the front straight. Does get it into the pit area, by the way. Your leaders down into the first corner are Kenny Brightbill and Brett Hearn, but the battle is back in the pack. There is Brightbill right there. Hearn should come into your shot just about there, and you can see the distance of about 20 car lengths or so as they go by one of the slower cars. Eddie Marshall way back off the pace from there is third, but Marshall doesn't have anybody pressing him, and he's not pressing anybody else. He's just running a comfortable third right now. Look at CD. He is starting to get away from Danny Johnson, Billy Pauch, and Frank Cozy. If things fall his way with pit stops, it's conceivable he could get his lap back.
Yeah, he sure could, and if he does get his lap back, running as well as he is running this afternoon, C.D. Colville could well be a factor in this race, a race he has never won.
Kenny Brightbill, the leader, has also never won.
Oh,
we got a crash in the corner.
Pauch and Danny Johnson, and Pauch hits the wall again. You could see that one coming, couldn't you? Pauch just tried to stick it underneath, and it didn't quite fit. That's your pole sitter. We're going to replay. Look at Pauch on the inside, trying to make it. Oh, he just doesn't get in there. Just did not quite get underneath Danny Johnson when he had to get underneath. Danny came down. It's perfectly reasonable for Danny to do that. He probably didn't even know Pauch was there, and boom, Pauch got belted. We are now getting set up for some pit stops in the infield. We're watching Pauch trying to move his car without the help of the wrecker.
We're going to look at it one more time right here, a little bit different angle, and you can see Pauch is going to bounce off the inside hub rail right there. And then he just had run out of room. There was no place else he could go. He took it down inside as far as he could. Was probably at the same time, Dick, trying to get out of the gas. Couldn't. Danny Johnson coming down, trying to get into the corner as well as he could. They touched wheels, and then Pouch just went to the outside and slapped the outside wall pretty hard. You also got to wonder right now about Danny Johnson, how much damage was done to his car.
And I got to wonder what's going to happen in the pits right now as this yellow flag is out, because some of the leaders are ready to do it.
Here comes Danny Johnson into the pits, among others.
And the leader, Bright Bill, is going to come in as well. And Brett Hearn. Pits about to get very busy here at Syracuse, New York. Bright Bill ahead on your screen. He has been the leader until this point. Right behind him is Brett Hearn.
Let's go down to Andy Fusco in the Hearn pit.
Hearn brings the number 20 to a complete stop. They're changing both rear wheels, both rear tires, although I'll be honest with you, there's not much tire wear at all. Brett Hearn looking calm and cool in the cockpit. He takes a drink of Gatorade, throws it out. No, that was Mountain Dew. He looks pretty refreshed. Now they're gassing up the car. Hearn's had some mileage problems all week long. He's getting less than 4 miles to a gallon. And he's away in 26.3 seconds. A good pit stop.
Eddie Marshall is still on the track, so Marshall is running in the lead right now, but he has not made a pit stop. If he comes in, C.D. Colville goes back on the lead lap. There you see Brett Hearn on the track. Kenny Brightbill comes out of the pits running behind Hearn. And Danny Johnson is still in the pits. He may have received some damage from that incident with Billy Pouch. Andy Fusco is there.
Danny Johnson, who's been fast, although conservative, here early in the running, now has a problem with that left rear hub. Almost certain to go a lap down here. This pit stop has now been over a minute long. Danny Johnson in trouble. The crew coming by. Danny being explained exactly what is the difficulty.
And as you can see, Danny Johnson is unbuckling and on his way out of the 27J. And the word from the pits from Andy Fusco, the rear axle is bent on the 27J of Danny Johnson. The rear axle tubing was what let go. Here is your leader coming down the front straight. It is Marshall. C.D. Colville a lap down is the 61. Fritz Eppright has moved into second. He's made a good charge also. The 44, Frank Cozy running third. The active one, Ray Bateman, is in fourth. 125, Doug Hoffman running in fifth down the back straightaway. There have been only 3 leaders in the race. Eddie Marshall is the third leader. Billy Pouch led it first. Then it was Kenny Brightbill. And now the 98 of Eddie Marshall, second generation driver. Eddie from Pound Ridge, New York, a regular competitor at Lebanon Valley Speedway. And look at CD. He continues to hold off the guys running behind him, even though he is a lap down. 7:04, Fritz Eppright right now is running in second, one of the New Jersey challengers. Frank Cozy out of Pennsylvania is third. And Doug Hoffman running very, very well into 125. He is fourth, and Hoffman is a money racer. He goes where the money is.
Yeah, he does, and I'm surprised Eddie Marshall has not yet taken a pit stop, Roy. Before the start of the race, he said the most he could run on a tank of gas would be 70 laps. 71 would be absolutely the furthest he'd want to go. We are right now on lap 61, and he has not yet pitted.
33.132 seconds on the last lap. Just about 110, 115 miles an hour for your race leader, Eddie Marshall. Meanwhile, you have to keep looking at C.D. Colville at 61. If he can get his lap back, he's going to be a threat.
It would be quite a story. He was burned at Lebanon Valley Speedway in the latter part of the season, and he's still limping around here in the pit area this weekend at Syracuse. So he is on the recovery road and quite obviously doing very well with his recovery.
Well, Eddie Marshall out in front, starting to get away again as CD holds off the rest of the field. Jack Johnson moving back up through the pack as well. Jack is a lap down, of course. He lost it in the pits earlier. Eddie Marshall down the back straightaway out in front. Marshall is running just cleanly. He has looked good the entire race. He started in sixth. Eddie Marshall the leader. C.D. Colville a lapped car, but really running a strong race on the track. He is second on the track, but he is a lap down and running well out of the top 10. Fritz Eppright is second. Frank Cozy third. Doug Hoffman fourth. Jimmy Horton has just come by Ray Bateman for fifth. Bateman dropping back into sixth. So Jimmy Horton, the defending champion, Dick, don't count him out of this one at all.
Especially when pit stops are so important. They have done a lot of Winston Cup racing in 1988, and they are very, very sharp in the pits. And if Horton can't beat his competitors on the racetrack, his team may well help him in the pit area to beat them.
65 laps completed as your leader comes across the finish line, down into the first corner. Then the rest of the pack behind him. And once again, it seems like the field is pretty much strung out, with not a lot of action going on for passing, except a couple of spots back in the field, except Fritz Eppright is trying his darndest to come by C.D. Coville. Eddie Marshall out in front comfortably. There's the battle with Coville and Fritz Eppright. Coville is the white car with the orange letters, the 61. Right behind him, Fritz Eppright. What a great shot as they come down the front straight into the first corner.
Get a good impression of just how fast these cars are really going at Syracuse with that shot.
Frank Cozy runs in third. Right now, Horton is on the outside of Doug Hoffman, battling for fourth, coming off turn 2. There is a good battle right there. Look at the horsepower on Horton. He just outpulls Hoffman down the back straight.
Yeah, he's whistling.
Horton has now moved back to fourth. Kenny Tremont just continues to kind of stroke it around on the track. He is many laps down after some early problems. But his running mate at Lebanon Valley, Eddie Marshall, is out in front. Eddie has feature wins at the Valley. He's out of Pound Ridge, New York. CD holding off Fritz Eppright for second. Down off turn 2, down the back straightaway. C.D. Coville remains very much a story, although not in the thick of things. Of course, you know, if he doesn't get a pit stop pretty quick, Dick, he's going to be in trouble also.
Marshall is running out of time as well. We're on lap 67 right now, and if his pre-race prediction of 70 laps holds true, he needs a yellow flag to make that stop, and most of the field is well strung out. The probability of a yellow is not strong.
Danny Johnson has some body panels apparently working free. Danny Johnson in the Alan Johnson in the 14J may be having some problems. We got a car slowing on the back straight. That looks to be Proctor. Your leader coming around, 98, Eddie Marshall, just continues to set the pace. Doesn't show any signs of going into the pit area. Fritz Eppright running second. Frank Cozy still third. Jimmy Horton fourth. Doug Hoffman fifth. Ray Bateman is in sixth. Oh, Alan Johnson, look at the side panel on that car, Dick. It is really flapping in the breeze. He is running in seventh.
He was in earlier to take a pit stop, Roy. They tried to move the body around and see what it would do, and it was virtually off even on that pit stop.
Well, it's almost off right now. In fact, you can see it right here, the body panel coming off the car as he goes through the corner. I would imagine track officials would look at that very closely about bringing him in with a black flag. You hate to do it to a leader, but you have to if it becomes a problem.
It's still well hooked on. There's still plenty of pop rivets and material left there to hold that thing on, and the concern, of course, would be if it were to fly off. Look at the leader, Marshall, right now.
Ken Brandt has moved up to 8th. Kenny has just been around all day long, Dick. He hasn't looked particularly bad or particularly good. He's just kind of hanging in there. Alan Johnson, even with the body panel flapping off, continues to run 7th. A full straightaway lead for Marshall, but he has got to be praying for a yellow flag about now. Marshall has been slowing down somewhat, Dick, and do you think maybe that's because he is trying to save a little bit of fuel right now?
Well, it's hard to say. He's got a pretty good lead, and I'm sure he's aware that he's got an awful lot of space between himself and second place, so there's no point really pushing it at this early position in the race.
Marshall is not able to get by one of the slower cars. There's a good battle going on for 6th and 7th between Alan Johnson and Ray Bateman. And Marshall finally does get by that slower car that had been ahead of him, but a good battle going on for those positions. And Doug Hoffman is working on the 85 of Jimmy Horton again. Carl Fuzzy Van Horn, by the way, after running slowly at the beginning of this race, has come on strong here at the end. Running back about in the middle of the pack. Fuzzy, the oldest competitor in the field. CT just continues to hold off Eppright, Cozy. Look at Hoffman on the outside of Horton going through the corners. Doug Hoffman is going for it, and Marshall goes into the pits under the green. Boy, that's a pit strategy there. It didn't work.
Very, very costly. He's going to lose a lap as a result of this, almost certainly. His crew is ready for him. They would like to have changed tires. They're not going to have the time to change the tires on that car. Marshall is just going to have to sit there in the pits and take fuel, and that's it. And not only that, they're only going to take 1 can of fuel. They didn't even take 2 cans of fuel, and he can't get the car started. The worst. Marshall stuck in the pits. He only got 1 can of fuel. The car is not running. It is sitting still. It is stalled at the entrance to turn 1. Marshall had been your leader. He is not running. He is a hazard. The yellow flag has just come out, and Marshall goes a lap down. Cozy in the pits.
Cozy, the race leader. That gives Doug Hoffman the lead now, and Hoffman becomes the 5th leader of the race.
Very slow pit stop by Marshall's crew.
And look who is on the outside of Doug Hoffman. Defending champion Jimmy Horton.
Watch Horton.
Watch Horton.
He is flying. That is the same car he won this race with last year. He's got basically the same team, the same organization. There goes Cozy now finally. Not a great pit stop for Cozy, who's also not running yet. The crew pushing the car in gear, trying to get him started. He's in high gear. Will Cozy get it started? No. This is the 2nd car that will drop out of the lead now. Possibly he's got a push truck behind him. Cozy not able to start the automobile. There he goes. Now he's got it fired.
So he'll pull up at the rear of the field. And boy, he must have been close to out of fuel when he pulled in, Dick. That's his 2nd stop, and he was only 80 laps in.
Yeah, that's okay with what he's doing with his carburetor. He thought at least he could be all right.
Well, if that's the case, though, he may have to make 2 more pit stops. He's got another 100 laps to go. 108 laps to go.
108 laps to go. He can't make it on one stop, Roy. You're right. He's got to make 2 pit stops.
White flag is out again. Doug Hoffman the leader. Jimmy Horton running 2nd. 7:04. Fritz Eppright is 3rd. The active one, Ray Bateman, is 4th. Running in 5th is the 73. And he has made a good run. Kenny Brent has been there all day long. And Brent right now running in 5th.
Hoffman on the lead. He took a vicious crash here 2 years ago between the 1st and 2nd turns. It appeared as if he lost a wheel first, hit the wall, turned over side, end over end, and what then was a brand new car. This is the car that they